Welcome to our channel, English Stories. Today, we're sharing the tale of a man who transformed the world permanently. He's one of the most renowned figures in history, and his name remains famous worldwide even now. He was an exceptional commander, a bold fighter, a skilled tactician, and someone who craved authority. However, his existence was packed with peril, treachery, romance, and conflict, and through this narrative today, you'll not only discover his remarkable journey but also enhance your English skills in the most fun manner. This is your opportunity to hear, comprehend, and hone English without effort. So, are you prepared to explore the extraordinary life of Julius Caesar? Let's get started. Julius Caesar entered the world on July 12th or 13th, 100 BC, in Rome, the core of the mighty Roman Republic. His complete name was Gaius Julius Caesar, but back then, nobody realized this infant would someday alter history eternally. Caesar came from an affluent and influential clan known as the Julii, or gens Julia. This lineage claimed descent from the deities, particularly Venus, the goddess of affection. His father, Gaius Julius Caesar, was an esteemed individual but not the most dominant in Rome. His mother, Aurelia, was a resilient and clever woman who significantly influenced Caesar's character. From childhood, Caesar stood out. He wasn't an ordinary child. He was driven, intelligent, and resolute. He enjoyed studying, acquiring knowledge, and watching everything nearby. His mother ensured he received top-notch schooling, and he soon excelled in literacy, composition, oratory, and argumentation. But Rome was a hazardous environment. Authority and governance were ruthless, and Caesar's kin were constantly involved. When Caesar was only 16, a major catastrophe struck. His father passed away abruptly. This was a massive blow for the youthful Caesar. Losing his dad meant he had to assume duties for his household at a tender age. But matters worsened further. A formidable autocrat named Sulla seized Rome, viewing Caesar's relatives as foes. Sulla commanded Caesar's execution, but Caesar declined to flee. Instead, he paid off key figures and relied on his wits to survive. This marked Caesar's initial encounter with influence and endurance. He discovered that in Rome, one needed to be astute, courageous, and perpetually prepared to battle for survival. At age 17, Caesar wed his initial spouse, Cornelia, daughter of a prominent Roman figure. It wasn't solely a union of affection. It was a strategic alliance. In Rome, weddings frequently revolved around dominance and partnerships, and Caesar was already plotting his path ahead. But Sulla disapproved of this union. He demanded Caesar end it with Cornelia, yet Caesar resisted. This was a daring and risky choice. Sulla held supreme sway in Rome, and defying him risked death. Caesar had to escape and conceal himself temporarily, but this ordeal fortified him, sharpened his mind, and intensified his resolve to ascend. Following his brush with peril, Caesar opted to enlist in the military. This launched his path as an outstanding combatant and guide. As a trooper, Caesar displayed astonishing valor. He was undaunted in combat, and his superiors swiftly recognized his abilities. He earned awards for his bravery, and folks began discussing him as a prospective ruler of Rome. But Caesar wasn't merely a fighter. He was a philosopher, a planner, and a visionary. He understood that to gain strength, he must capture the affections of the populace. One of the wildest and most fascinating incidents in Caesar's life occurred while he was still youthful. During a voyage over the Mediterranean Sea, Caesar was captured by buccaneers. Yes, that's correct. He was seized by a band of perilous pirates who sought a payoff for his freedom. But here's the twist: Caesar didn't freak out. Instead, he mocked them. The pirates requested 20 talents of silver, a substantial sum then. But Caesar insisted, "No, you're undervaluing me. I'm worth at least 50 talents. The pirates were stunned. They'd never encountered anyone like Caesar. He behaved as if he were in charge, not the captive. While awaiting the funds, Caesar lived regally amid the pirates. He bantered with them, issued commands, and vowed that someday he'd return and penalize them. And true to his word, he did. Once liberated, Caesar assembled a force, tracked down the pirates, and eliminated them entirely. This episode revealed Caesar's assurance, cleverness, and merciless nature. He wasn't just talk, he was deeds. After demonstrating his mettle as a valiant trooper and enduring his abduction by pirates, Julius Caesar headed back to Rome, committed to gaining might. But Rome was treacherous. Politics resembled warfare, and Caesar realized he must be shrewd, enduring, and unforgiving to persist. Upon his return, Rome was in turmoil. The Republic was governed by influential statesmen, many dishonest. They dominated finances, the forces, and the administration, unwilling to let newcomers like Caesar advance. But Caesar had a scheme. He knew citizens adored spectacles, so he began arranging lavish communal gatherings, competitions, celebrations, and arena combats. He expended vast sums to earn the populace's affection. Though not exceedingly wealthy, he loaned from influential associates to maintain public amusement and contentment. And it succeeded. The common folk of Rome started adoring Caesar. He turned into a star, a champion, a people's advocate. But Caesar sought more than fame. He desired genuine authority, and in Rome, that stemmed from governance and the military. He launched his political path by serving as an advocate, leveraging his outstanding rhetorical talents to triumph in trials and attract notice. His addresses were potent, heartfelt, and convincing. He mastered captivating audiences. Before long, he was chosen as a military tribune, then a quaestor, a fiscal official, and subsequently a senator. Gradually, he advanced toward Rome's political summit. But obstacles arose. Numerous affluent and mighty Romans despised him. They perceived him as a menace due to his excessive drive, popularity, and peril. In this period, Caesar endured a profound personal tragedy. His spouse Cornelia died. This was a sorrowful time for him, as she had supported him through his toughest phases. But in Rome, matrimony often concerned political gain, so shortly after Cornelia's demise, Caesar wed another woman, Pompeia, from a highly influential lineage. This union aimed to boost his profession, but it concluded in controversy. Pompeia faced accusations of infidelity with another man, and though unproven, Caesar dissolved the marriage. He notably declared, "My spouse must be beyond reproach." This illustrated his vigilance regarding his public persona. He aimed to appear as a robust, disciplined, and principled director. Post-divorce, Caesar was dispatched to Spain as a provincial leader. This proved a pivotal moment. In Spain, he encountered a sculpture of Alexander the Great, the celebrated Greek vanquisher. Caesar recognized that at his age, Alexander had already subdued much of the globe, whereas Caesar had accomplished little monumental yet. In that instant, Caesar resolved he wouldn't cease until he became the planet's most dominant figure. In Spain, he formed his own modest force, engaged in skirmishes, and exhibited his superb martial prowess. He secured his troops' devotion, and upon returning to Rome, he was even more esteemed and potent. Caesar understood that for true authority, he required partners. He was driven, but not Rome's wealthiest or strongest. Thus, he forged a covert pact with two of Rome's top figures, Pompey the Great, a renowned commander adored by his troops but facing power struggles. Second, Crassus, Rome's wealthiest, possessing immense riches but deficient in fame. They established the first triumvirate, a hidden coalition to dominate Rome collectively. Caesar pledged aid to Crassus and Pompey, and they backed him in return. With their endorsement, Caesar was selected as consul, one of Rome's premier roles. With authority secured, Caesar craved additional. He assumed governorship of Gaul, today's France, Belgium, and segments of Germany. Back then, Gaul was untamed, risky, and inhabited by fierce clans. No Roman chief had fully subdued it. Caesar viewed this as his shot at immortality. Over the ensuing 8 years, he directed his forces in one of history's most savage conflicts. Gaul's tribes were ferocious warriors, but Caesar was a tactical prodigy. He employed tactics, insight, and swiftness to vanquish them sequentially. He constructed spans rapidly to traverse waterways. He deceived adversaries into believing he was vulnerable, then struck abruptly. He split and subdued, ensuring tribes never allied against him. His most iconic clash was the blockade of Alesia, where he encircled the whole settlement and famished foes into capitulation. By war's conclusion, Caesar had subjugated all of Gaul, establishing him as one of history's premier military minds. While Caesar campaigned in Gaul, Rome unraveled. His former partner Crassus perished, and Pompey opposed him. The Senate, under Pompey, commanded Caesar to relinquish his forces and return to Rome as an ordinary resident. But Caesar declined. He knew returning unarmed meant arrest and execution. Instead, he made a legendary choice. He traversed the Rubicon River with his troops, formally initiating war on Rome. This ignited a gruesome civil strife. Caesar battled Pompey and his allies, emerging victorious after numerous engagements. Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was deceived and slain. Upon reaching Egypt, Caesar encountered Cleopatra, the youthful and driven monarch. She was astute, enchanting, and attractive, viewing Caesar as an ideal collaborator and paramour. Their romance ranks among history's most celebrated. Cleopatra sought Caesar's assistance to retain her throne, and Caesar was mesmerized by her allure and intellect. He aided Cleopatra in overcoming her rivals, and she became his mistress. They shared countless evenings, and soon Cleopatra bore Caesar's child, Caesarion. But in Rome, citizens were appalled. Caesar was wed to his third wife, Calpurnia, and many Romans disliked their leader fathering a child with an exotic queen. This liaison rendered Caesar more divisive, but he was indifferent. He now reigned as the globe's mightiest, with grand ambitions for Rome. Julius Caesar had attained all his desires: dominance, fame, and affection. He had overpowered Gaul, bested Pompey, and seized Rome. The masses revered him. His troops were faithful, and his name instilled fear globally. Yet Caesar remained unsatisfied. He desired further. He aimed to revamp Rome, rendering it more robust, prosperous, and structured. And inwardly, he sought what no Roman had ventured: total authority, akin to a monarch. But in Rome, king was a perilous term. Romans loathed monarchs. They'd deposed their final one ages prior, priding themselves on their republic. Even supreme leaders feigned democratic respect. Caesar was poised to upend that. After vanquishing Pompey and romancing Cleopatra in Egypt, Caesar re-entered Rome. He arrived like a deity, donning a violet garment, atop a gilded carriage, heading a colossal triumph procession. For 40 days, Rome's avenues brimmed with festivities, contests, and galas. Warriors clashed, beasts were pursued, and multitudes acclaimed him. Caesar became Rome's autocrat. This wasn't mere nomenclature. It signified utter command over all. None could challenge his edicts. He could enact statutes, proclaim hostilities, manage currency, and chastise adversaries. Though wielding total authority, he feigned deference to the Senate. He permitted their retention of offices, but truly, they lacked substance, music, any longer. With Rome under his sway, Caesar initiated sweeping changes to aid the destitute. He distributed territory and funds to warriors and impoverished residents. He reformed the timetable, instituting the Julian calendar, which persists today. He expanded Rome, envisioning fresh metropolises, highways, and administrative structures. He extended citizenship, granting Roman status to additional individuals, fortifying Rome. The populace adored him for these. He elevated Rome to superior, wealthier, and more orderly heights. But not all rejoiced. Numerous senators and veteran Roman aristocrats were enraged and envious. They believed Caesar mimicked a monarch, and in Rome monarchs were detested. Though wed to Calpurnia, Caesar remained profoundly enamored with Cleopatra. She arrived in Rome with their offspring Caesarion, residing in an opulent estate. This sparked outrage. Many Romans were incensed that their chief harbored an Egyptian paramour and an alien heir. Rumors circulated that Caesar intended to wed Cleopatra, crown her, and designate their son's successor. This offended Roman nobility. No Roman chief had bequeathed authority to offspring. Rome was republican, not monarchical. The Senate and potent Romans began dreading Caesar's royal aspirations. Their apprehensions intensified as Caesar behaved regally. Caesar took audacious steps. He installed his effigy in shrines, reserved for divinities. He also occupied a gilded seat, wore regal attire, and conducted himself monarchically. During a communal celebration, his ally Mark Antony attempted to crown him with a gilded diadem, but Caesar rebuffed it twice, aware Romans abhorred kings. He feigned disinterest in kingship, yet all discerned reality. He sought lifelong dominion. The Senate panicked. They realized inaction would permit him to terminate the Republic eternally. A cadre of senators, spearheaded by Brutus and Cassius, convened covertly. They contended that failing to eliminate Caesar would allow his kingship and republic's demise. But a hurdle existed: Caesar's immense strength. He was beloved by the military, masses, and various senators. Thus, the plotters resolved to strike swiftly. They schemed his murder on the Ides of March 15, 44 BC. The eve prior, Caesar's wife Calpurnia dreamt horrifically. She envisioned Caesar's form bloodied and implored him to skip the Senate. For once, Caesar wavered. Typically audacious and intrepid, but the days seemed ominous. Morning brought a seer's caution: beware the Ides of March. But Caesar dismissed it with laughter. He never feared before. Why commence now? He disregarded alerts and proceeded to the Senate. Upon entry, the schemers encircled him. Abruptly, one thrust a blade into his rear, then others followed. Caesar resisted, but was overwhelmed. He sustained 23 wounds. Then he beheld heartbreak. His intimate ally Brutus wielded a dagger. Caesar's final utterance, "Et tu, Brute?" Meaning you too, Brutus? In that instant, he ceased resistance. If his dearest comrade betrayed him, it concluded. He collapsed deceased. The plotters believed they'd preserved Rome, but erred. Julius Caesar lay slain, pierced 23 times by kin, in a crimson puddle on the Senate ground. The colossal figure who'd subjugated territories, triumphed in fights, routed foes, and remolded Rome vanished. But his demise didn't yield tranquility. Indeed, it spawned Rome's gravest political turmoil. The Republic fractured. Rome descended into disorder, and those deeming Caesar's death Rome's salvation committed their direst blunder. For the reality was straightforward: Caesar transcended manhood. He embodied a cause, an upheaval, an emblem of might. His death didn't halt that cause. Rather, it ignited a conflict destined to reshape the globe eternally. Upon learning of Caesar's slaying, Roman citizens raged. They'd cherished Caesar. He'd provided them terrain, sustenance, wealth, and optimism. He'd instilled pride, and now the Senate had eradicated him. But it wasn't solely their fury that altered history. It was a single oration. Mark Antony, Caesar's nearest comrade and most steadfast commander, advanced. He was astute, cunning, and lethal. He knew precisely how to incite the masses against the assassins. At Caesar's burial, Mark Antony hoisted Caesar's stained garment and displayed it to the vast assembly. His tone was firm and poignant as he proclaimed, "Behold this blood. This belonged to your idol, your chief, your guardian. See what they've inflicted upon him. They labeled him a despot, yet he cherished you all, and now he's perished, slain by his comrades." Expert then Antony read Caesar's will, a document in which Caesar had left money and land for the poor citizens of Rome. The crowd exploded with anger. Within hours riots broke out. The people attacked the homes of the conspirators, burning them down. The senators who had killed Caesar had to run for their lives. Instead of saving the Republic, they had destroyed it. After Caesar's death, Rome was divided. There were now two sides. 1. The assassins Brutus and Caesar. They claimed to be saving the Republic. 2. Caesar's loyalists Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus. They wanted revenge. At first, the Senate still had power, and they thought they could control the situation. But Octavian, Caesar's 18-year-old adopted son, had other plans. Octavian was young and inexperienced, but he had one big advantage. He was Caesar's son. In Caesar's will, Octavian was officially adopted as his son, and was given his name was Julius Caesar Octavianus. At first, people laughed at him. He was just a boy. He had no army, no experience, and no power. But Octavian had one thing that no one else had: Caesar's name, and that was enough. At first, Mark Antony and Octavian worked together. They formed the Second Triumvirate, a group of 3 leaders with Lepidus. Their first goal: revenge. They hunted down the senators who killed Caesar. Thousands were executed. Brutus and Caesar, the main conspirators, escaped to Greece, but they knew their time was running out. The final war between Caesar's murderers and his heirs happened in Philippi, Greece. On one side, Brutus and Caesar's killers, a huge army of senators and their supporters. On the other side, Mark Antony and Octavian, the Roman army loyal to Caesar. The battle was bloody and brutal. In the end, Mark Antony and Octavian's army won. Brutus and Caesar killed themselves rather than be captured. Caesar's revenge was complete. After the war, there were only 2 powerful men left: Mark Antony and Octavian. At first, they divided the empire. Octavian controlled the West: Rome, Italy, Spain, and Gaul. Mark Antony controlled the East: Egypt, Greece, and Asia. But soon they became rivals. Mark Antony made a big mistake. He fell in love with Cleopatra. He left his Roman wife, who was Octavian's sister, and moved to Egypt. He had 3 children with Cleopatra. He started acting like an Egyptian king, not a Roman general. This gave Octavian the perfect excuse to turn the Roman people against him. He told the people, "Look, Mark Antony has abandoned Rome. He has become an Egyptian. He is under Cleopatra's spell." The Roman people turned against Mark Antony. The final battle, the Battle of Actium, 31 BC. Octavian declared war on Antony and Cleopatra. At the Battle of Actium, Octavian's fleet destroyed Antony and Cleopatra's navy. Antony fled back to Egypt. Cleopatra followed him, but they both knew it was over. Rather than be captured, Mark Antony stabbed himself. Cleopatra, refusing to be humiliated, let a poisonous snake bite her, ending her life. With their deaths, Octavian was now the most powerful man in the world. In 27 BC, he took a new name, Augustus, meaning the Great One. He became the first emperor of Rome. The Roman Republic was officially dead. Rome was now an empire, and it would remain one for 500 more years. Julius Caesar's legacy, the man who changed the world. Julius Caesar was gone, but his impact never faded. He changed Rome forever. His name, Caesar, became the title for all future emperors. His ideas of government, military strategy, and leadership are still studied today. Even Shakespeare wrote a play about his life. Even today, over 2,000 years later, his name is remembered in every corner of the world. Julius Caesar's story teaches us many things. Never let fear stop you. Caesar was kidnapped, betrayed, and attacked, but he never stopped moving forward. Be bold, take risks. He crossed the Rubicon, took Rome, and became the greatest leader of his time. Power comes with a price. His ambition made him great, but it also made him enemies. Your name can live forever. Even after 2,000 years, people still say his name. Julius Caesar may have died, but his legacy is immortal. And that is why his story must never be forgotten. And if you want to learn more about Cleopatra's life, I have already made a detailed story about her. In that video, I explained everything: her childhood rise to power, love story with Caesar and Mark Antony, and her tragic end. It's a perfect story for improving your English listening skills while learning about history in an interesting way. So don't forget to watch it. Subscribe to my channel and take one step closer to mastering English and transforming your life. Every lesson brings you new confidence, new skills, and a brighter future. Keep learning, keep growing, and never give up. Your success starts here, expert.